Spanish with Kat Barsic. Part 18. In episode 17, we were exploring the simple conditional tense for regular verbs. Along the way, we also found sentences in our cartoon with verbs that are irregular. For example, during the conversation with Señora Laura.
Pensé que vendrían más temprano. Son juguetes para mi perro Rocky. No estoy segura, pero diría que habría unos 100 juguetes diferentes para perros.
We also noticed irregular verbs used at the restaurant.
¿Podríamos cambiar la primera ciudad de la gira?
Yo no lo haría si fuera tú. Déjalo seguir su curso.
Even while Kat Barsic and Pepe were watching TV, we kept coming across verbs that are irregular.
Bueno, yo diría que los tomates representan la lucha humana.
La película nos enseña una danza cósmica y, sin duda, cómo ser mejores personas.
Pepe, ¿alguien podría contarles que en el espacio no hay tomates?
Además, creo que los tomates podrían simbolizar la fragilidad de las relaciones.
¿De qué están hablando, Pepe?
In all these examples, we see the use of irregular verbs in the simple conditional mood. And that's exactly the topic of our lesson today. The name of this episode is
Diría que lo mejor está por venir.
I would say the best is yet to come. Let us proceed with the story of Kat Barsic, the very beginning of which started in episode 1 and continued in each next episode. And focus on the irregular verbs in the simple conditional tense.
Haber, poder, saber, caber. Poner, salir, tener, valer, venir. Decir, hacer, querer.
Which will pop up throughout the movie.
The morning after their Christmas celebration, Kat Barsic and Pepe were enjoying an incredibly fresh breakfast in the hotel restaurant. The place was empty. Apparently, all the other guests were still recovering. And only the waiter Albert seemed as bright and energetic, as if the previous night he hadn't spent dressed as a Christmas reindeer. The food was juicy and fresh, and Barsic squinted with delight as he devoured yet another bite.
Estos huevos fritos estarían mejor con un poco menos de sal. ¿No crees?
Tal vez. Y esta salchicha frita es excelente. Está buenísima. Pero con menos especias, valdría más la pena.
Estoy de acuerdo.
Y hablando de comida, ¿quién crees que haría el pavo de anoche?
No lo sé. Diría que el chef del hotel, pero no estoy seguro.
Waiter Albert reappeared, carrying pancakes that were still steaming and as soft as a cloud.
Sus panqueques, señores.
Muchas gracias, Alberto.
Muchas gracias.
¿Desean algo más los señores?
Yo querría un poco de miel.
Y yo querría un poco de leche, por favor.
Muy bien, lo traigo enseguida.
¿Los panqueques están muy ricos? El aroma es increíble.
Y todavía están calientes.
Aquí tienen, señores.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Albert left, and Pepe drizzled the pancakes with fragrant honey.
Impresionantes con un poco de miel. Pero yo les pondría más frutas.
Barsic munched happily. Food was life's greatest joy. But now and then, his thoughts flickered back to the mysterious package that had brought him and Pepe together.
¿Me vas a dar mi paquete finalmente?
Inside that box was a reproduction of Velázquez's Las Meninas, which had led them to the Prado Museum. Looking closely, they'd realized the mirror in the painting reflected the king and queen, and that they had been standing in the very same spot. Barsic took another bite. Someone wanted them to go to the Palacio Real. Why? That was the mystery.
Entonces, ¿estamos en el lugar de los reyes?
¿El lugar de los reyes? ¿Y cuál es el lugar de los reyes?
Es el Palacio Real.
Ya lo tengo. Tenemos que ir al Palacio Real.
Pepe's words snapped Barsic back to reality.
¿En qué estás pensando, Barsic?
¿En las meninas? Y lo que todo esto podría significar. La caja del desconocido y el espejo que refleja a los reyes. Querría saber más sobre eso.
¿Valdría la pena investigarlo? ¿Cuál es el plan para hoy?
¿Podríamos ir al Palacio Real?
Creo que sí.
Una hora más tarde.
Qué inoportuno. Aquí dice que está cerrado por vacaciones.
Entonces podríamos ir a otro lugar.
¿Qué te parece si vamos a una estación de esquí?
¿Eso valdría mucho?
No lo creo. No valdría mucho más que quedarnos en este hotel. Me gustaría pasar unos días disfrutando de la nieve.
Yo también querría pasar unos días al aire libre.
Las noticias dijeron que podría hacer más frío. Te podría prestar una gorra, que te iría perfectamente.
Gracias, Pepe. Más tarde ese día.
¿Impresionante?
Yo diría que está un poco demasiado alto.
Vamos a esquiar. Deslizarse por la pendiente es muy divertido.
Con nuestra energía, pondríamos el mundo patas arriba.
Mejor tengamos cuidado de no quedar patas arriba en esta pista nosotros. Barsic, alcánzame si puedes. ¿Te espero en la cafetería?
Buenas tardes, señor. Bienvenido al Café El Montañero. ¿Qué le gustaría tomar?
Una cazuela de carne y un café con leche, por favor.
Muy bien, señor.
¡Qué agradable sensación! El viento en mi cara. Esto sigue acelerando. Es muy estimulante. Uy. Demasiado rápido para mi gusto. ¿Y cómo se para esto? Olvidé preguntarlo. ¿Hay algo ahí delante? ¿O no? ¿Es un trampolín? Agárrate fuerte, Barsic. Ya he llegado. Vaya. ¡Qué aterrizaje!
¿Querrías intentarlo de nuevo?
En otra ocasión.
¿Qué tomará el señor?
Haría lo que fuera por una salchicha y leche caliente.
Muy bien, señor.
¿El café está bueno? ¿Me gusta el café fuerte?
Que aproveche.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Bienvenidos a nuestra estación de esquí.
After a hearty meal, they took a walk in the snow, with delicate snowflakes dancing softly in the air. Along the way, they stopped to build a cheerful snowman.
Me gusta cómo nos quedó el muñeco de nieve. Vendría genial para una foto.
As the day faded, the sky came alive with a stunning sunset, glowing softly in gold and pink, wrapping the world in a quiet, enchanting magic.
¡Qué vista! ¡Qué belleza!
El valle está tan tranquilo. Diría que parece un cuadro.
Vendría aquí todos los días si viviera cerca.
¿Y esa banda de luz? ¿Podría ser la Vía Láctea?
Es la Vía Láctea. Es nuestra galaxia, un enorme grupo de estrellas. Diría que tiene más de 100.000 millones de ellas. ¿Podría haber algo más asombroso? Y dentro de la Vía Láctea está el Sistema Solar. Sin esta galaxia, no tendríamos hogar.
Hablando de hogar, ¿ya es noche cerrada? Deberíamos regresar a la estación de esquí.
Vámonos, Pepe.
They walked across the snow, which crunched softly under their feet. The air was still, and the frost wrapped the world in quiet. Pepe, gazing at the star-studded sky, thought to himself that the cosmos wasn't just up there among the stars. Each of us is a cosmos, with our own unique inner worlds. And Barsic, in his hat with a pom-pom, is a cosmos all his own.
Mira, Pepe, hemos llegado. Aquí está nuestro chale.
¿Se está bien junto a la chimenea? Caliéntate. Yo traeré algo de comida.
Es tan acogedor aquí. Tendríamos que volver algún día, Pepe. ¿Podría haber algo mejor que esta cálida chimenea y este delicioso guiso? No cabría en mí de felicidad.
Diría que lo mejor está por venir.
¿Sí? ¿Eso crees?
¿Estoy seguro? Lo mejor está por venir.
Grammar Basics.
Gramática básica.
In this episode, we'll delve into irregular verbs in the simple conditional tense, which appeared many times throughout our story.
Condicional simple. Verbos irregulares.
In the previous episode, we learned that the conditional simple is used to talk about things that would happen under certain circumstances or conditions. And it's called simple because it doesn't require auxiliary verbs. We typically translate the conditional simple into English with modal verbs like would, could, should, or might, depending on the context. To form the conditional simple, we take the full verb and add these endings.
Ia, ias, ia, iamos, iais, ian. Fácil.
Today we're going to focus on irregular verbs. They are special verbs that don't follow the usual patterns and have a stem change.
Correcto.
And here's more good news! If you've already learned the irregular verbs in the future simple tense from episodes 10, 11, and 12, you'll immediately notice that the same verbs are irregular in the simple conditional tense. We'll practice conjugating them today. and later see them in action in the cartoon.
Con una mirada segura, hasta las tonterías podrían sonar sabias.
¿Por qué hacen eso? Yo no diría tonterías solo para parecer inteligente.
To conjugate these verbs in the simple conditional, drop the letters highlighted in blue. Some verbs add the letter D, highlighted in red. Finally, add the endings of the simple conditional tense.
Ia, ias, ia, iamos, iais, ian. Formación. Verbos irregulares.
Forming simple conditional tense. Irregular verbs. Let's take a closer look by splitting them into 3 groups. The first group drops a vowel highlighted in blue. Thus, the stems become
Haber, haber. Poder, poder. Saber, saber. Caber, caber.
The second group drops a vowel, but adds a letter D instead. So, we have
Poner, ponder. Salir, saldr. Tener, tendr. Valer, valdr. Venir, vendr.
And the last group completely makes up its own rules.
Decir, dir. Hacer, har. Querer, quer.
Now that we have our stems ready, we can move to the final step. To conjugate the verbs, we add the conditional simple tense endings. Barsik, how do you say I would do?
Haría,
And how do you say I would come?
vendría.
We would go out?
Nosotros saldríamos.
And if we're talking about ladies,
Nosotras saldríamos.
they would know?
Ellos sabrían, ellas sabrían.
We conjugate the rest in a similar way. Take your time to learn them by heart. It'll make things so much easier later. Once you know them, they'll pop into your mind automatically whenever you need them. Take a look at the screen. We'll need these for conjugation. Let's get started right away. Irregular verb stems drill. You see a list of verbs with their irregular stems in the simple conditional. Notice what changes group them together. Soon the stems will disappear. Your task is to bring them back with Barsik's help. Let's try filling them in one by one.
Haber,
It is translated to English as to have, as an auxiliary verb. The verbs in this group drop the vowel E, which is highlighted in blue. So, we get
haber, haber.
In a similar way, we work with the rest. Let's move to the next Spanish verb. To be able to.
Poder, poder.
Good. To know.
Saber, saber.
To fit.
Caber, caber.
Well done. The next group of verbs drops the vowel highlighted in blue and adds the consonant D before the final R. Let's move ahead and try to remember the stems of these irregular verbs. To put.
Poner, pondr.
To go out.
Salir, saldr.
Now comes the verb to have.
Tener, tendr.
The next verb is to be worth.
Valer, valdr.
And another one is the verb to come.
Venir, vendr.
Now the last 3 verbs. To say, to tell.
Decir, dir.
To do, to make.
Hacer, har.
And the last one is the verb to want.
Querer, quer.
Now that we know the stems, let's make it fun and try conjugating them randomly. Conjugation drill. Let's practice the simple conditional tense with irregular verbs together. How do we say, I would have? First, we start with the stem of the irregular verb in its simple conditional form. When we work with the verb to have, we drop the letter E, highlighted in blue. Then we add the letter D, as the verb to have belongs to the group of verbs that require it. After that, we finish by adding the personal ending.
Ia. Tendría. Yo tendría.
Let's keep going. How do we say to know in Spanish?
Saber.
What's the irregular stem of this verb in the conditional simple?
Sab.
The final step, adding the personal ending.
Ia. Sabría. Yo sabría.
The next verb to conjugate is to be worth.
Valer.
Forming irregular stem?
Valdr.
It would be worth.
Valdría. Eso valdría.
Well done. Let's try another verb. To be able to.
Poder.
Now the stem?
Pod.
Could you? Would you? That's the formal, singular you.
Podría. Usted podría.
Good job. Let's translate to Spanish. You would do. That's the formal, plural form of you. To do. To make.
Hacer.
Now the stem?
A.
You would do.
Ustedes harían. Harían.
Next in line is the verb to go out.
Salir.
How do we say you would go out? You would leave in the informal plural form. First, we form the correct stem.
Saldr. Vosotros, vosotras saldríais. Saldríais.
Our following verb to tackle is to want.
Querer.
What would be the formal plural form of you would want? First, we form the stem.
Quer.
You would want, formal plural?
Querrían. Ustedes querrían.
Next verb is to come.
Venir.
How do we say they would come? First, we form the stem.
Vend.
They would come?
Vendrían. Ellos, ellas, vendrían.
Good job. Let's look at a few more examples. The next verb is to say, to tell.
Decir.
Let's say we would tell. First, we form the stem.
Dir.
We would say, we would tell.
Nosotros, nosotras, diríamos. Diríamos.
Good job. And the last verb, to put.
Poner.
Let's say you would put informal, singular you. For stem,
Pon.
you would put.
Tú pondrías. Pondrías.
Well done. And now we move on to the next section of the video. Nuts and bolts. Derivative verbs. Did you know that some irregular verbs have family members? These are called derivative verbs because they are based on simpler verbs like
Tener.
to have as a main verb,
Detener.
to detain,
Mantener.
to maintain.
obtener,
To obtain.
sostener,
To sustain. The great news? They follow the exact same pattern as their base verbs. And it refers to the conditional simple too. Let's say, I would have.
yo tendría,
And how do we say I would maintain, obtain, or detain?
yo mantendría, yo detendría, yo obtendría.
No need to learn extra rules, just remember the base verb stem and apply it to all its derivatives. Easy, right? Let's look at more derivative verbs in Spanish that are conjugated just like their base irregular verbs in the conditional simple. Let's take the verb.
Poner,
What other verbs are similar and work the same way?
suponer,
To suppose,
componer,
to compose,
proponer,
to propose,
reponer,
to replace,
imponer,
to impose. The next verb is
venir, convenir,
to agree,
provenir,
to originate,
intervenir,
to intervene. Now we move on to another irregular verb, to say or to tell.
decir, contradecir,
To contradict,
bendecir,
to bless,
predecir,
to predict. And the last irregular verb is to do or to make.
hacer,
Its derivatives, conjugated the same way, are
deshacer,
to undo,
rehacer,
to redo. And we move ahead. Nuts and bolts too. Before we continue with grammar, let's take a quick vocabulary break from our cartoon. How would you say pitch dark night in Spanish?
Hablando de hogar, ¿ya es noche cerrada?
noche cerrada,
Right. Literally, it means closed night. Easy to remember. And what about I would do anything for?
haría lo que fuera por una salchicha y leche caliente. Haría lo que fuera por,
Barsic is so hungry that he would do anything for a nice portion of stew.
sí, haría lo que fuera por una porción de guiso.
And how would you say you're extremely happy, literally, that you wouldn't fit in your skin from happiness?
No cabría en mí de felicidad. No cabría en mí de felicidad.
Barsic is very happy because he won a football match against Pepe.
Sí, no cabría en mí de felicidad.
Barsic loves spending his free time with Pepe. How would we say in Spanish? Could there be anything better than?
Podría haber algo mejor que.
Could there be anything better than true friendship?
Podría haber algo mejor que la verdadera amistad.
And we'll see the same phrase used in the cartoon.
¿Podría haber algo mejor que esta cálida chimenea y este delicioso guiso? ¿Podría haber algo mejor que?
Well done, Barsic. And we'll move on to exercises to help reinforce the topic. Our task is to place the verb in brackets in its correct form. Please also take a moment and explain why we use the simple conditional. Let's go. What would you do in my place?
¿Qué harías tú en mi lugar? ¿Harías tú?
If I were you, I would leave earlier.
Si yo fuera tú, saldría más temprano. Saldría.
Could you help me with this homework, please?
¿Podrías ayudarme con esta tarea, por favor? ¿Podrías?
I would like to travel to Europe someday.
Querría viajar a Europa algún día. Querría.
If I were you, I wouldn't put so much sugar in the coffee.
Yo que tú, no pondría tanto azúcar en el café. No pondría.
How many people would come to the party?
¿Cuántas personas vendrían a la fiesta? Vendrían.
It would be worth trying.
Valdría la pena intentarlo. Valdría.
Would you stick to your decision if it were harder?
¿Mantendrías tu decisión si fuera más difícil?